Hi, my name is Marcus and welcome to Servant King. This confusion program is called Words. Confusion of voice. Like I said in the previous videos, I've now been trying for about 2 years to learn about law, and I realize it is hopeless. There is so much information on the internet about all the things that are wrong in the world, conspiracies, one world order stuff, unjust money, unjust laws. I realize if all these people are looking for answers and getting no results, then they're all doing the same things. No one's getting answers or results. They must be all mind controlled. They all think alike. We always want someone to give us answers to everything. So we must all be members of the same cult. But nowhere on the internet or any of these self-taught gurus on law do they ever say the problem is you own no property, because they don't know it. They believe the lie. So the answer I'm looking for has to be more simple, but I don't know what I'm looking for yet. I know I own no property, but I don't know why I don't own any property. I stopped listening to everybody and I just sat down and think. And then I think some more. So I did something unusual. I accepted the fact that I was brainwashed, mind controlled. I think like everyone else. Can I salvage anything from my mind before it was irreparably harmed? Most people wouldn't think of an approved education or established religions or the media or history books as damaging their minds, but I do. So I went back to my childhood, prior to indoctrination, mind control, before my mind was altered in certain ways, before nonsense and the absurd became my new normal. What was my first impression of things when I heard them? So I tried to remember these things. So I went back to my childhood and I sort of need to wash my brain, clean it up a bit. So here's a few things I thought about. Corporations. The first time I ever heard the word corporations, it's a company, and it's a separate thing, a separate legal person. I didn't know that back then. And if the company went bankrupt, couldn't pay its debts, even though I owned the company, the people that I owed money to, not too bad, you just lose everything. And I could keep all my other things personal, myself, and I wouldn't have to pay these debts. I thought, well, that's not right. That's wrong. How can you do that if you owe somebody something? Second thing was lawyer's advice. I remember my dad had to go see a lawyer about something. I'm very young. And I remember my mother saying, make sure you know how much you have to pay him before you go there. And I thought to myself, why would you pay somebody any money if they're just going to tell you something? It's not like he's doing any work for you. So you just go ask somebody something, they tell you, and why would you give them money for that? So that was my first impression of that. Church hypocrite. I was an altar boy for 9 years. Roman Catholic. At the end of one Mass, the priest, when he was doing the announcements, he said, I'd like to introduce a special visitor we have here today. And he introduced a United minister or a Methodist minister or Baptist minister or whatever. And this man stood up. And I was walking towards the back of the church, getting ready for the procession out. And I stopped dead in my tracks and I thought, why is this priest doing this? This is our enemy. I hate him. Now, I'm just a little boy, 7, 8 years old, maybe 6, 7. Who put those ideas in my head? Never seen this man before, but somehow I hate him. So where did these ideas get put into my young mind? Our enemy. I'm a little bit older, getting to learn about the world. All these different countries hate each other. They're at war, got nuclear missiles pointed at each other. And then I'm watching TV one night, and I see the leaders of 2 of these countries that hate each other, ready to kill each other. And they're sitting there laughing with each other, slapping each other on the back, sharing a meal together. I thought, they're not enemies. They like each other. So what's going on there? Voting. first time somebody explained voting to me. If I was someone who lived in the United States of America, I get one vote out of 300 million. People tell you it makes a difference. And I think, yeah, like a lottery. How can one vote out of 300 million make any difference at all? So I didn't believe that either. Son of Canada. The first time I heard you're a son of Canada, or the sons of Britain, or the sons of... I thought, what? How can you be a son of a country? That's stupid. It's not possible. So you see, these are just a few things that I did. Just an exercise to begin the process of getting control of my mind. Now, you will recall from the previous videos how I needed to learn about words. The meaning of words. Words were all over the place. I couldn't make heads or tails out of them. The more I learned, the less I realized I knew. So I knew there was something funny going on with words. So let me tell you about words. I know words and dictionaries is all nerd stuff. When we were growing up, we wanted to go outside and play baseball or whatever. Boring. But as I'm trying to learn law, play lawyer, and all this stuff, I realize this is hopeless, reading all these legal definitions and meanings. I would read a whole paragraph to explain a word, and I couldn't understand it. I thought to myself, this is going to take more than a lifetime. Not even a lawyer can know all the law. They specialize in various parts of the law. But I have to obey and understand all the law. Now, at the time, I had no idea that, in fact, I am an attorney at law, but just a dumb one. If I looked at a normal dictionary versus a law dictionary, words would mean different things. An ordinary word would be defined as this or that, and in law, it would mean something else. How can words mean different things? I remember looking at the word raptor in Canadian law. It said it was a bird of the order Strigiformes, falconiformes, and included eagles, falcons, hawks, owls, vultures, and so forth, and included their eggs. I go to another law book, and I look up the word raptor, and it says, see ravisher. I look up ravisher on the next page. It says, one who seeks carnal knowledge of a woman against her consent. What? This makes no sense. So I'm looking through various laws, statutes, and so forth, and it would say that in this act, this means this or that, and will include this or that. Or in this act, this will be this, which means if it's not in this act, it will not be this, but it would be something different. Well, now it's even getting more ridiculous. How can a word mean this here and that there? It would be easy to trick you, don't you think? Now, this was written by a law professor a number of years ago, probably an honest one. I'm just going to read this to you. He says, dealing in words is a dangerous business. Dangerous business. Hard to believe. And it cannot be too often stressed that that's what the law deals in, is words. Dealing in long, vague, fuzzy meaning words, and even more dangerous business. And most of the words the law deals in are long and vague and fuzzy. Even when the words of a statute appear, at least to a non-lawyer, to have a perfectly plain and definite meaning, you can never be sure that a court will not up and say that those words mean something entirely different. Yet why, if you think it over for a minute, should people not be privileged to understand completely and precisely any laws that directly concern them, and any business documents they have to sign, and any codes of rules or restrictions which apply to them and under which they perpetually live? Why then should the law use a language, language being, remember, no more than a means of communicating ideas, which those ordinary human beings cannot hope to understand? The law would lose its dignity and then its power, and so would the lawyers. So legal language, by obstructing instead of assisting the communication of ideas, is very useful to the lawyers. It enables them to keep on saying nothing with a great air of importance and getting away with it. Now, that was written by a law professor, a man who taught lawyers. Now, I'm going to go into something that is terribly boring, only mildly interesting, but absolutely necessary. This is also going to be a little confusing for you, but for the purposes of this video, it is only to make you aware of words and what can be done with them. Did you know that something necessary cannot be otherwise? Did you know that which is necessary cannot be and not be at the same time? Did you know that involve means to be and not to be at the same time? You see, I liked grammar in school because it had rules. No room for interpretation. That made sense to me. English literature was retarded. And I know today why it is mandatory through all your education to retard you. So I reasoned that if a word can have 6 different meanings, how could I ever know what it means? Oh, people say it's the context of the word, or the way it is used, or the acceptance of the word, or it's used for this purpose, etc. So I had a look at characters, symbols, syllables, roots of words, prefixes, suffixes, the tense of words, vowels, consonants, nouns, verbs, adjectives, pronunciation of words, language, speech, speaking, writing, the sound of words, conjunctions, articles, the gender or case of words, the sense of words, etc., etc., etc. I had a look at what could be done with metaphors, similes, all sorts of things about language and speech. So what is a word? A word is an uttered sound or a written symbol used to communicate. If the hearer or the viewer of the word recognizes the word as it is written or sounds, he will know what you intended to tell him. Words are a code. If you know the code, then you know what the guy is trying to tell you. If you don't know the code, you haven't a clue of what he's saying. Words can represent to your mind places, things, people, events, concepts, thoughts, ideas, real things, imaginary things, basically anything the mind can conceive. But as we will learn, words can also deceive. Remember, there are only 2 ways to see. One is with the eyes, and one is with the mind. Words work only on the mind, not the eyes. A word can represent something that is present or absent, but it cannot represent something that does not exist. Can you have a word that represents nothing? You could, but it would have no meaning. Could you imagine things and then represent them with words? The answer is no, because you can only represent that which is present. How can you communicate something to another that is in your imagination? He can't see it unless he has the same imagination as you. Daniel Webster, the dictionary guy, he puts it this way. Imagination, in our simple apprehension, means if present is sense, if absent is imagination. We are human, and we were given only 5 senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling. If you believe something that makes no sense, one of the 5 senses, it is nonsense. No sense. So since we all have the same 5 senses, how do we fool or deceive someone to believe nonsense? Well, we use intelligence, the ability to perceive nonsense. Now you're thinking, what's wrong with intelligence or having a high IQ? Nothing. Remember, we see 2 ways. We see with the eyes and we see with the mind. The second one is controlled by laws which you're not aware of. So words create an image in our mind. This is how we see them when they are not present. But if the thing does not exist, can there be an image? No. In other words, can an image have a shadow? The answer is no. A thing can make an image, but an image cannot make an image. An image is only a representation of a thing in a different form. Keep that in mind when you are concerned how people see you. Is it really your image you want to improve? I don't have any props here, but if I had some props like a pencil and a cup, okay? Let me explain another concept. I have two things, a pencil and a cup. For the purposes of communication, we will make the symbol for the pencil the letter P. For the cup, it will be the letter C. Can the cup be C? No. It's only the symbol. It will only represent the cup to your mind. C provides or gives you an image to see. When I say to you, I have 4 P's, you will see 4 pencils in your mind, even though there are no pencils present. However, pencils must exist somewhere, or there would be no image in your mind. It would be nonsense. An image is like a reciprocal thing. If there is nothing, there is no image. If there's an image, there must be something. A wise guy once said, if you think you are something but are nothing, you are deceived. Now, things can be reciprocal, and so can images. An example of a reciprocal image would be a father and son. In order to be a father, there must be a son. In order to be a son, there must be a father. Parent-child is also reciprocal. In other words, if your parents had no children, there's a good chance you won't either. Some people have said, I am the image of my father. I guess the only way you would know that is if you have seen my father. Can C represent the pencils? No. If it did, you would not know what I am trying to communicate to you, and you will see the wrong image. So a word can have different meanings. So can a word have different meanings? No. Because if it did, it could trick you or deceive you. You may see the wrong thing, the wrong image. Excuse me. If we put 4 symbols together to form a symbol like the word tree, T-R-E-E, you will see a tree. If I say there are a row of trees along the driveway, you will see a row of spruce trees along the driveway, or a row of maple trees. Not specific enough, lacking information. So what you see will be based on what you know, but also on what you do not know. In other words, deceit can be achieved by learning the wrong thing as well as by the true or right thing being kept from you. If knowledge is lacking, that is one thing. But if it is purposely kept from you, or you are given the wrong knowledge on purpose, that is deceit. What you will see is based only on your past experiences and associations developed during your life. It all depends on mind control. So, you can only see what you know or believe the word to be. If you do not even know the word, you will see nothing. You see, words are a secret code. If I look at Chinese words, or somebody speaks Chinese to me and says, look at the row of trees along the driveway, I won't see anything. The words are a secret. Not my secret, but the one who spoke them. The whole idea of words is so that you can see. I know you use your eyes to see. Well, not really. In fact, what you see will determine what you believe. And what you believe will determine how you act. And you will believe what you see. In Webster's dictionary, Daniel Webster again, he says the following about the meaning of words. He says, it is the sense of words or expressions, that which is to be understood, that which the writer or speaker intends to express or communicate. Words have a literal meaning or a metaphorical meaning, and it is not always easy to ascertain the real meaning. People think the literal meaning is the real meaning. He's saying, not really. Definitions of words are never what they are. Definitions of words only give them definition. The definitions set the boundaries or the limits of what the word will mean or be or include. The best we can do is arrive at the sense of a word, but in all cases we must know what the writer or the speaker of the word intended to communicate. Black's Law Dictionary explains words like this. He says, words are symbols indicating ideas and subject to contraction and expansion to meet the idea expressed. Such have been referred to as labels, whose content and meaning are continually changing with the times. So, Black's Law is saying the meaning of words are continually changing and shifting. Do you believe that? Or is that what we are doing? So Bob asked me to bring him 2 chickens. When I get there, he says, "What the hell are you doing?" I tell him, "Oh, the word changed since we last spoke. Here's 2 rabbits." 2 things cannot be represented by the same word. Likewise, one thing cannot be represented by 2 different words. I could say to you, money, funds, capital, proceeds, revenue, income, credit, currency, cash. You would think these are all money. But if they're all money, why do I need a different word? They may be like money, but they are not it. 2 things can never be the same. It's not possible. If 2 pencils are the same, and this pencil commits a crime, we can put the other pencil in jail. Why not? It's the same pencil. I guess if the innocent pencil appeared to be the same pencil as the criminal pencil, we could impose a sentence on the innocent pencil because it not only appeared to be, but assumed and took the place of the criminal pencil. Sort of like a forgiveness thing. Stand in the place of. In fact, both pencils would have the same name. But if you look very closely, you will see one is a numbered pencil. A little foreshadowing here. 2 things can never be the same. They can only have the same qualities or attributes. They have the same color, the same length, etc. I once read a court record where a guy did not want to pay his taxes. He said only persons have to pay taxes, and he's not a person. The judge said a person is a human being, and you are a human being, so you have to pay taxes. And the guy shut up and sat down. Why did the law not say all human beings have to pay taxes? Why did it say persons? Persons are not human beings. The judge said a person is a human being. I'm telling you, a person's not a human being. They may be the same in some quality or attribute, but they are not the same. Exactly alike, incapable of being perceived as different, being the exact same one, not any other. It may not be the same one, but it is the exact one. But how can it be one and the same when to be the same requires 2? This is the same. Same as what? Same as that. So same requires this and that. So now we have to learn what it means to be as. Very important word to understanding the illusion and how the trick is done. To be as is to become something that you are not. It requires you to be something different and move your position. To be in the place or stead of what you will be as a disposition. If you act for in the place of, then you are the exact one, but not the same one. Exact means out of the act. How are we ever supposed to know the truth about anything? Do you see how easy it would be to make an error with words? How easy it would be to be deceived? I opened a law dictionary one day, and I just on 2 pages, I wrote down the first few words of a few definitions. And this is how they start. This word, as applied to, means. The general sense in a general sense, this means, the radical sense of this word is, this word includes this and that. As used in this act, it means, the legal meaning of this word is, in a popular sense, this word means a term formally applied to, a term sometimes applied to. In maritime law, this means the most simple acceptation of this word is, this word signifies, this term exhibits, this word means, but it's not used anymore. This word pertains to. In civil law, this means, this word relates to, this term applies mainly to. These are the beginning words of definitions of legal words. The legal system can make a word be whatever we want it to be. You could say that legalism is magic words. In this act, this will be that. But for the purposes of the act, that will be this. Otherwise, it may be something else. When you talk to kids today, they will say things to you like, you ask them a question. Well, it's like this, and I did like that, and it was awesome, and I like this. And I sit there and I listen, and I go, is it a zebra? I mean, you're telling me what it's like, and I'm supposed to guess what it is. Why don't you just tell me what it is? People can't speak properly anymore. We also pronounce words differently, and then we are tricked. We violate the rules of grammar. Then we use words totally wrong and stand there totally dumbfounded when we hear certain things, like, your birth certificate does not represent a living individual. Everyone goes, oh, how can that be? The birth certificate is just a piece of paper. It can't represent you. You have to represent it. The reason you don't understand that is because you fail to understand what the word represent means. For all the pro se common law gurus out there that laugh about representing themselves, a lawyer once said, or a judge once said, he who represents himself has a fool for a client and an ass for an attorney. Now go on, try to represent yourself. You can only present yourself, and you can only represent something other than you. And you can only do it as appearing as. It is not reality. When lawyers are called to the bar for admission, they present themselves. As an attorney, they appear for you. We also say many stupid things every day. Stupid sayings. Things like, where do you live? Well, I live over there. Do you live over there? No, I live over there. So if you go over there, you're dead. What does it mean, where do you live? Very important to understanding the illusion. The late John Smith, if we wait a little bit longer for him, maybe he'll show up. Is he just late? Late for what? Do you think he died? Well, is he late or is he dead? Did he die? Or maybe deceased, depart, perish, pass away, give up the ghost, expire? You see, what is the sense of the word? We use words many times in the wrong way. Another word, used to be. What did you used to be? What did you use to be what you were? I used this to be what I am. I used to be used to using it, but I don't use it anymore, so you can't tax me. I knew an Indian girl, Native Canadian. She said she lost her Indian status card. She said without it, she's not an Indian anymore. She said she used to be an Indian. What did she use to be an Indian? I also knew a black guy, a friend of mine. He had a black status card. He lost it. He said, without it, I'm not black anymore. These are only a few examples to make you think very carefully. Go carefully word by word when you're trying to figure out something. Do not forget the little words. You can be in something without being of it. Very important statement again. Then I found a short article on the internet. Very rarely do I find anything on the internet that helps me. But this article sort of, in a way, summed up what I'm telling you. I'm going to read it to you. It says, the deliberate alteration of words, or meaning of words, to achieve political or social ends. The extreme version of this practice was referred to as newspeak, describing the practices of propaganda. Newspeak referred to a practice used by the government to reduce the amount of words in language in order to inhibit the exercise of independent thought by the public. This had the effect of cutting people off from information about their past and limiting their ability to interact with each other regarding present circumstances. Not only were words given limited definitions, many were eliminated altogether. When those in positions of public responsibility and the public cannot agree on the definition of words, everyone in the process becomes the political target of political manipulation. An alternative to newspeak's reduction of words and definitions would be to expand the number of definitions of words until no one is capable of arriving at a certain meaning for what they read. This would be another method to achieve the same objective of controlling communications. Intentionally or unintentionally, providing ambiguous or altered definitions of words greatly inhibits communication. It confuses matters and removes people from a knowledge of history and the majority of information resources simply because they don't understand the traditional meaning of words. Sure, they have free access to information in abundance, but what benefit is derived if they cannot understand the definition of words being used? Even more disturbing is the fact that the readers might happily come away believing their false views and flawed conclusions are absolutely correct. There's a difference between the use of slang and the deliberate alteration of meanings for political purposes. However, the end result is the same. Those members of the public who are not familiar with the traditional meanings are swept away in a popular tide of modern use. Unless someone enters the picture who can point out the significance of the original meaning of certain words, the public will benefit but little from efforts to study an historical document such as the Constitution. Another warning about the destruction of language and history is presented by simply burning all the books. As the body of information available for human consumption continues to grow geometrically, while communication becomes more difficult because of the deliberate evolution of the definition of words, anyone who has a vested interest in controlling the masses will find his job mostly done. No one will need to burn all the books when there is no one left who understands them. End of article. How are you ever going to know what anything means? The reason I explain this about words is so that you may understand and see how I discovered things in the subsequent programs. Whenever you read something that makes no sense to you, but apparently is correct, you will instantly know that one or more of the words cannot mean what you think it means. So let's have a look at a few words here. Proper, peculiar, naturally or essentially belonging to a man or thing, not common. That is not proper, which is common to many. Sorry, there's a few other words I was going to do here. Common, belonging equally to more than one, no separate owner. Proper, peculiar. Sorry, I did that one already. Peculiar, beyond or deviating from the usual or expected. One's own. Exclusive property, that which belongs to one in exclusion to others. Sophisticate. What does sophisticate or to be sophisticated means? A very sophisticated man. Sounds like a good thing, a man of the world. Sophisticate. To adulterate, to corrupt by something spurious or foreign. To pervert, as to sophisticate nature, philosophy, or the understanding. A sophism is a subtlety in reasoning. Subtle, also written subtle. Difficult to detect or grasp by the mind or analyze. Subtle. Sly in design, artful, cunning, insinuating, applied to persons. Civilization. The act of rendering a criminal process civil. Realize. The act of making it real. You can make anything real, even the unreal, if you realize it. Become. Very, very, very important word. To enter or assume a certain state or condition. Come into existence. To pass from one state to another. To enter into some state or condition. By a change from another state or condition. Or by assuming or receiving new properties or qualities, additional matter, or a new character. To become of. Usually with what preceding. To be the fate of. To be the end of. To be the final or subsequent condition. In the present tense, it applies to place as well as condition. What has become of my friend? That is, where is he? Become is what you are and where you are. Remember when I said you can never return to who you are and where you are if you use the get out of jail free card. Remember that? Appear. What does it mean to appear? It means seems to be as opposed to reality. When somebody says to you, you should appear, the logical question is, appear to be what? It's not reality. Apparent. Appearing as such, but not necessarily so. Apparition. Something existing in perception only. Apparitor. One who summons to court. That word's not used anymore. Identity. The distinct personality of an individual regarded as a persisting entity. Exact sameness. Identify. The act of making or proving to be the same. Go through a few more words just for some fun here. Rome, the capital of the Roman Empire, the seat of the Roman Catholic Church. Roman, a native of Rome, a citizen of Rome, a countryman of Rome. A pagan, a countryman. You're not going to find that in any new modern dictionary or anything. Romance, to forge and tell fictitious stories. Romancer, one who invents fictitious stories. A romantic, not sensible about practical matters, idealistic and unrealistic. Necromantic, given to or produced by or used in the art of conjuring up the dead. Necromancer, one who practices magic or sorcery, one who practices divination by conjuring up the dead. Necromancy, the belief in magical spells that harness all occult forces or evil spirits to produce unnatural effects in the world, conjuring up the dead. Conjure, call up a spirit or devil, summons into action or bring into existence, often as if by magic. Have you ever been given a summons to appear? Maybe in court? As an apparition by the apparitor? What would you think if I told you, what would you think if I told you that a summons to appear is a conjuration? What would you think if I told you that you practice necromancy every time you appear in court? What would you think if you practice the occult every day of your life and don't even know you're doing it? What do you think? Be pretty unbelievable, wouldn't it? Can't believe that. Everyone can't be doing this. That would be unbelievable. The most common words we use every day, we never stop to think about what they mean. Why would we? We're educated. We have an approved education. In the next video, we are going to look at only one word, and that word is person. This one word is the key to grasping the illusion you live and why you own nothing. Till then, my name is Marcus.